Welcome back to another episode of the What We're Watching podcast. I'm Megan.
And I'm Jeni, and today we're talking about Freaky Friday.
I love this movie. I love it so much. I actually watched this movie for the first time in a long time on my birthday this year.
That's right.
And it's amazing. So I was so happy to watch it again a couple months later.
Yeah, I don't know when the last time I saw this movie was, but it's been a while, and it was so much fun to rewatch it.
So the logline for this movie is single mother Tess Coleman, played by Jamie Lee Curtis, and her teenage daughter Anna, played by Lindsay Lohan, couldn't be more different, and it is driving them both insane. After receiving cryptic fortunes at a Chinese restaurant, the two wake up the next day to discover they have somehow switched bodies. Unable to switch back, they are forced to masquerade as one another until a solution can be found. In the process, they develop a new sense of respect and understanding for one another. It's just, this is like the pinnacle of nostalgia for me for some reason. I just love it. It's such, I think it's because it's actually a really good movie, and I really thoroughly enjoy the plot all the way through. I don't know about you. Like, it doesn't feel quite as just like, oh, I loved this when I was like a kid, you know?
Yeah, I felt like it was going to be cheesy, and I was bracing myself for that, and it really wasn't. And Robert actually said, oh, I love that movie. I'll watch it with you too. And so we watched it together.
Wow.
Yes, and you know how when you watch something with someone, it's funnier?
Totally.
We were giggling the entire time. Like, I was just laughing at everything Jamie Lee Curtis was doing. And honestly, Lindsay Lohan too. They both just crushed it.
Mm-hmm.
So it was fun.
Agreed. So I didn't know this, but this movie is actually based on a book. It's written by Mary Rogers, and Mary Rogers is also the writer that wrote the 1976 original Freaky Friday movie that stars Jodie Foster. Have you ever seen that version?
No, have you?
No, but I love that Lindsay Lohan is in both of these iconic remakes.
The Parent Trap and this one?
Yeah, I should have said that. I just said these iconic remakes because like I knew what you were
We know what you meant.
Yeah. And we talked about this next point in our Cinderella story episode, but this movie came out at the time when Hilary Duff and Lindsay Lohan were famously feuding because they both dated Aaron Carter in the early 2000s, which was an iconic time in pop culture. And they actually ended up crashing each other's 2003 film premieres. 2003, once again, guys.
2003 and 4 are the years.
Mm-hmm. So Hilary actually showed up at the Freaky Friday premiere in April 2003 to like crash her red carpet. And then Lindsay did the same thing later that year when Cheaper by the Dozen came out.
That's interesting because they always make it sound like Lindsay was the bad girl who was crashing first, but it sounds like Hilary crashed first.
I know. I'm like kind of shocked that Hilary Duff did that first, but she did. So
interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Petty. I like it though. Then there was this big drama between Lindsay Lohan and Hilary Duff over Chad Michael Murray during A Cinderella Story's launch the following year. And we talk all about that in our episode on A Cinderella Story 2 if you want to hear more.
Okay, should we talk about the cast?
Yep, let's talk about Lindsay Lohan, who plays Anna Coleman.
If you guys listened to our Parent Trap episode, you know we talk a lot about her there too. So we're going to focus these facts, I think, a little bit more on Freaky Friday and kind of her teenhood this time. So the casting directors originally narrowed the part of Anna down to 5 different actresses, and then the director, Mark Waters, said that Lindsay actually had the worst tape of all 5.
Oof.
Which, even if that's true, I'm like, bro, why did you come out and say that in an interview?
Yeah.
But he said, quote, she had this amazing turbulence and energy, which we thought was going to be really interesting for the character. So they went with her. They just had like a good gut feeling that she was the one. That being said, I also read that Michelle Trachtenberg, our fave from Ice Princess, was asked originally to play Anna on Freaky Friday, but she couldn't because Buffy the Vampire Slayer conflicted with the filming schedule.
Oh, interesting. I wonder how that would have changed Michelle Trachtenberg's trajectory if she got this role.
I don't know. I was going to say I imagine it would have changed a lot, but this was a Disney Channel original movie, right?
I thought it was just a Disney movie, but
okay.
But maybe.
Maybe it was just a Disney movie. I was going to say, if it was a Disney Channel original movie, even if it was a big one, I don't know how much it actually would have impacted her because she did do Ice Princess also.
Mm-hmm.
But if this was a mainstream movie that did come out in theaters, which I bet, you're right, I bet it was because they had a red carpet premiere. So maybe this would have launched her to be more of a like teen movie star. I don't know. I also read that Lindsay took a break after The Parent Trap came out because of the overnight fame and success that movie brought her and how overwhelming that was. So this was actually her comeback.
Oh, I did not know that.
I know, her first comeback to the screen, which I guess makes sense because these are the two things I feel like she was known for in our childhood, and there's nothing in the middle that I can think of.
No, you're right. I guess I just didn't know the order of things, but I don't remember seeing her in between those ages.
Mm-hmm. She said, quote, I went to high school and I did 2 Disney Channel things, which were fun just to keep up. So she did a couple little things in between. But then apparently when she got the script for Freaky Friday, she decided it would be the perfect comeback project.
And it was. I feel like her character as Anna was just so iconic to me at the time. Like her little guitar pick choker necklace and her crop top and her like slightly grunge look with the red hair and the highlights. I loved it.
Oh, me too. It was so iconic.
And Lindsay and Jamie Lee Curtis both played their characters very well, but they also played each other very well. And they actually helped each other with these roles. And Jamie Lee Curtis said, there's a way she says shut up that I couldn't get. She had to give me a shut up tutorial because it's a very specific way.
I love that.
I love that. I love Lindsay Lohan teaching Jamie Lee Curtis how to do the teenage shut up.
Mm-hmm. It seems like, just based on social media and random pictures together, it seems like they've stayed friends or at least friendly. I feel like whenever they see each other at awards shows and stuff, they always take photos together. It's really cute.
I love that. They know their audience. They know we eat that up.
Mm-hmm.
And then Lindsay Lohan learned how to walk and talk like an adult by watching Curtis. And she said, I tend to use my hands a lot, and Jamie didn't use her hands. Her speech, facial expressions, all of that stuff, I'd have to watch to really differentiate the two. And speaking of Jamie Lee Curtis, she plays the mom, Tess Coleman.
There are 2 main actresses that I read were considered to play Tess before it went to Jamie Lee Curtis. And the first was Jodie Foster, who was the original Anna in the first movie. I don't know if her name was Anna in that movie, but she was the daughter in the original Freaky Friday. She got asked to come back as Tess, but she ended up passing because she thought it would be too distracting for her to come back. Like, I think she thought that was going to be too much of a, what's the word? Not like a gag, like a stunt cast, I guess. You know, to like get a lot of PR just because she was in it. I think she thought it was going to be distracting to the story.
Interesting.
And then Annette Bening was then supposed to play Tess, and she actually backed out 6 days before filming started.
Oh, no.
I know. And it's because she didn't think the script was in a good enough place for filming to start.
That is harsh, actually.
I know. Something that I think is interesting about both of these women, Jodie Foster and Annette Bening, is they are the 2 women that starred in Naiad together, which was an Oscar-nominated movie this year. And I think they were both nominated for lead actress and supporting actress. I don't think either of them won, but that movie was incredible.
I really want to watch it. It's on my list for when I'm feeling a little more emotional.
Yeah. It's not super sad. Like, it is not super deep and emotional. It definitely is like a moving story, but it's also kind of funny and it's just like interesting.
Also just weird that they both might have been Tess in this movie.
I know.
And Jamie Lee Curtis is just still doing amazing things. I always knew her from this movie, but recently she crushed it in Everything Everywhere All at Once. She was unrecognizable in that movie, and I loved her character so much. And then also The Bear.
Yeah, she was in the iconic Thanksgiving episode. It was either Thanksgiving or Christmas episode. The episode that everyone talks about.
It's the best one.
She is one of the main characters in that episode, yeah. She was also in Knives Out, and I love her in Knives Out.
You're right. I forgot about that.
Then we have Chad Michael Murray, who plays Jake.
He's from One Tree Hill, Gilmore Girls, A Cinderella Story. I think we talk about him all the time on this podcast. He just comes up in conversation because you can't really talk about the 2000s without talking about Chad Michael Murray. He was raised by a single father who was an air traffic controller.
Wow.
I know, and I like it when I find out that these celebrities are just like us and they were just found somehow or they made it and they didn't have any connections.
I know. I love that too.
And he actually started off modeling and then he transitioned to playing Tristan on Gilmore Girls, and that was his big breakout role. He's also a writer, which I had no idea. He's written a graphic novel, and then he co-authored a romantic thriller with the author Heather Graham, and I guess it was based on a dream that he had. And I don't know if he's like a big novelist. I don't know if he has a lot of experience in that, so he partnered with this author and made it happen.
That's so cool. I had no idea he was a writer.
Yeah, me neither. And then he's been married to Sarah Romer, who was his co-star in Chosen and is also from Fired Up and Disturbia, since 2015, and they have 3 kids.
Aw. Wow. It's hard for me to picture Chad Michael Murray as a married father.
You should check out his Instagram or her Instagram. It's really cute to see their little family.
Cute. Okay, well. Then we have Mark Harmon, who plays Ryan, Tess's fiance in the movie.
He's the lead in NCIS. I was trying to figure out what I knew him from, and it's that. And I just had a random fun fact about NCIS. It's still running. It's like Grey's Anatomy. It's still going. I had no idea.
Shocking.
Truly. It's in its 21st season, and he hasn't been on screen since 2021, but he does now produce the show.
Wow. I don't know if Grey's Anatomy, NCIS, and Law & Order SVU all started the same year, but if they did, there was just something in the water.
I'm just surprised people are still watching, but then I remember that there are people out there, not me, who still have cable, and so it makes sense that it's kind of one of those things you just turn on.
Yeah, definitely. I read that Tom Selleck was originally supposed to play Ryan, but he backed out because he didn't want to do the movie without Annette Bening.
Really?
Who, again, is the one that backed out like the week before filming started because she was supposed to be Tess. So I guess Jamie Lee Curtis and Mark Harmon were last minute finds, and they did such a good job, you would never know.
You would never know, and they were perfect chemistry-wise. I thought they were great. Totally could buy that they were a couple about to get married.
1000%.
And I just loved Ryan's character. He was so sweet.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have Julie Gonzalo, who plays Stacy, the mean girl in this movie.
We've talked about Julie before. She's also in A Cinderella Story, and she's also the mean girl there. But she's also in Christmas with the Cranks, which is one of my favorite Christmas movies of all time. I don't know if you've seen it.
Not in a long time.
Okay, she plays the daughter, and Jamie Lee Curtis and Tim Allen are her parents in that movie.
Okay. Wow. So she's been in a movie with Jamie Lee Curtis before, and she's also been in a movie with Chad Michael Murray before.
Yeah.
Wow. Should we get into the movie?
Let's do it. So the movie starts with a sleepy Anna, played by Lindsay Lohan, and her mom, Tess, Jamie Lee Curtis, is trying to wake her up for school. You guys will remember this because she's like trying to pull the covers off of her and is like grabbing her feet and stuff. And so as Tess is like running back and forth in and out of Anna's room all morning, she's going back to her room and painting her nails, and she's meditating. And we get the sense that she's very put together and like has an established morning routine. And eventually she goes in and tries to pull Anna physically off her bed by her ankles, and it doesn't work. So she lets Anna's brother Harry blow an air horn in her ear to get her up.
That was me in high school.
Really?
Yeah. Could not wake me up. Actually, you still can't wake me up. I have to have like 10 alarms. I'm so annoying.
No, that's okay. I am too. I was the annoying girl in college that would have like 4 alarms even when I had a roommate. Just the worst.
Relatable. We can't help it.
It is what it is. I don't know.
In the car on the way to school, we find out that Anna is going to be Tess's maid of honor in her upcoming wedding. And we also see how angsty Anna is as a character. And when they get to school, Tess says hi to Stacy Hinkhouse, who Anna says is evil, and they used to be friends, but she hates her now. And we can tell that Tess doesn't really believe her and thinks that Stacy is a sweet girl and doesn't understand why she and Anna had a falling out. She tends to do this, actually. She tends to take the side of everyone else but Anna, because Anna's a little bit of a brat in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And then Anna meets up with her friends, and she sees Jake, Chad Michael Murray, and she freaks out. He's got long hair in this movie and like some facial hair, I think. And he just looks really cute and is perfect for her kind of grungy look too. And she's in love with him. She has the biggest crush ever.
And then in class, Anna argues with her teacher, Mr. Bates, played by Stephen Tobolowsky. They're arguing about her paper on the book 1984. And we get the sense that Anna's actually making sense in this argument, and that her paper actually probably was good, and for some reason her teacher is out to get her. And because of this argument, she winds up in detention. And we can tell that she goes to detention a lot, because when she walks in, she trades lunch with the detention teacher. And I think the detention teacher's like, "What do you got today?" Or she like says what kind of sandwich she has today, and they trade like it's very routine.
That made me laugh so hard. I totally forgot about that. Meanwhile, Tess gets to her job as a therapist, and she has this one really needy client named Evan who freaks out that she's going on her honeymoon and thinks that she might not come back.
And then back at school, Anna's in the gym, and Stacy keeps hitting her in the back of the head with a volleyball. They're playing volleyball in PE. And so eventually Anna gets fed up and she spikes the ball right into the back of Stacy's head, and then she goes right back to detention.
It's unfortunate that nobody else gets caught but her.
I know. And then we see Tess at the grocery store who's on the phone with her wedding planner. And Tess is making this big stink about how she needs to have halibut at the wedding instead of salmon, and she doesn't care how much it costs. And this whole time that she's at the grocery store and on the phone, she's flipping back and forth between different calls from her wedding planner, from her clients, from her son Harry. She has a bunch of different phones in her bag. And to me, this scene really just serves the purpose to show us that she's always working and she's a super busybody.
And then as Anna is walking out of detention, she drops a guitar pick and Jake picks it up. And he asks all about her band and what guitar she plays. And she's super awkward. She says, "Maybe you can come check me out. I mean, the band." And Jake offers to give her a ride home on his motorcycle, but she declines, and he totally knows why. It's because her mom would kill her for showing up on a motorcycle. And then it seems like he's just about to ask her out, like on a date, when Mr. Bates calls Anna back and tells her that she should be spending less time on boys and more time on studying. And by the time she turns around to get back to Jake, he's already riding away on his motorcycle.
Then back at home, Anna's band practices in her garage, and it's such a vibe. Like, there's posters everywhere, there's those hanging bead curtains everywhere, there's string lights hung up. But then when Anna's mom gets home, she finds Harry with underwear stuck on his head, thanks to Anna. And Tess cuts off part of the underwear, and then her dad, played by Harold Gould, comes over, and he pulls the rest of the underwear off, which is there's not that much left. And I thought this was so funny because he says, "What is this, one of them thongs? I don't want to know." I don't know why I just made him Southern. And then Ryan, Tess's fiance, and these two boys come inside. I could not for the life of me figure out if these are supposed to be Ryan's sons or if they're just supposed to be some of Harry's friends or neighbors. I think they're just his friends, but it is interesting they run in at the same time as Ryan.
It did make it confusing for sure. I thought they were like cousins or something in town for the wedding at first. I was really confused also.
Mystery boys.
Harry's friends, probably.
Yeah. And then we see Tess turn the garage power off as Anna's punishment for being so loud and for putting the underwear on Harry's head.
I also do think that she had a lot of patience up until that point. Like, I always remember her being like, "Time's up, it's after 6," and turning off the power and being like the mean mom. But watching it back as an adult now, I'm like, no, she's like cutting off the underwear off Harry's head and she's still letting Anna go. And
she's yelling to have conversations with her dad and her fiance so that they can keep practicing. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. I was like, yeah, she's actually pretty cool for letting her practice in the garage.
What I was thinking is this will never be my house.
No.
I don't ever want this to happen in my house. If I have a teenager who's in a band, I don't want the practice in my garage. It's so loud.
Yeah, I just feel like I would have to get out of the house at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, props to Tess, truly. And Anna's bandmates are very disappointed that the power gets turned off, but they find out that they got into the Wango Tango auditions, which are a big deal, and they have to be there tomorrow, which is Friday. But it's at the same time as Anna's mom's wedding rehearsal dinner, and Anna is like, "I'll make it work."
And this made me laugh. Her friend actually says, "Aren't you the maid of horror or something?"
You're right.
And then I think Anna has to be like maid of honor. And then upstairs in Anna's room, Harry and his friends are wearing her bras on their head and reading her diary. And so she comes in and is obviously furious and turns around to slam her door, only to find that her mom took the door off the hinges of her room. And she screams. Obviously, this is like one of the iconic Lindsay Lohan high-pitched echoing screams.
Yes.
And then she confronts her mom, and they end up talking about Anna's crush, Jake. And her mom asks where they met, and Anna tells her detention. And Tess scoffs. And Anna says she's ruining her life. This was such a bummer to me because they're having the argument about the door, and then the argument cools somehow. And Anna actually tells her mom about Jake. I think she mentions Jake, and her mom's like, "Who's Jake?" And it made me a little bit bummed that her mom could not have like an ounce of, "Ooh, my daughter's telling me something," and just like scoffs at the whole thing. And then Anna says she's ruining her life. I don't know. It was just a bummer. But like we said, Tess has so much patience for her in general that I don't blame her for snapping in this moment.
But yeah, I'm with you there. I was like, oh man, come on, Tess. Then the whole family goes to a Chinese restaurant that night. Ryan says he pre-ordered the Peking duck because it's Anna's favorite. Grandpa says, "Stop groveling, man. Let her come to you." And Ryan says, "She'd come with a hatchet." True.
True.
But I like that he's trying.
At dinner, Anna tells her mom about the big audition, and her mom brings her back to the restaurant and they argue. And then Pepe, the restaurant's manager, her mom comes over, and her mom is played by Lucille Soong from Fresh Off the Boat, and she brings them fortune cookies while they're in the middle of arguing. And Pepe's mom explains what will happen if they eat the fortune cookies, but she's doing it in a different language, and so they obviously don't understand, and they just take the cookies to get her to go away, and they eat them right away. And then the fortune reads, quote, "A journey soon begins, its prize reflected in another's eyes. When what you see is what you lack, then selfless love will change you back." And then there's this huge earthquake, and they're like freaking out, and I think they come out and hug each other. But then when they walk back to the table, like out to the rest of the main restaurant from the bathroom area, they learn that nobody else felt anything.
Yeah, that part is so weird. Iconic, though. Again, I remember all of this from when I was a kid.
Same. Yeah. And this was interesting. So Rosalind Chow plays Pepe, the restaurant manager, and I read that she almost didn't take the role because she didn't want to play into the Chinese stereotypes. But then she ended up deciding that she did want to take the role because her father owned a Chinese restaurant similar to the one in the film. And she said, quote, "I don't want to reject that. I just want to embrace it." I thought that was cool.
Yeah, that's interesting. I definitely think if they did a remake of this movie, it would not happen in this way. And it's the one thing to me that I thought didn't age well. But the rest of the movie really did. And that's interesting to hear from the actress who played Pepe, how she felt about it. So the next morning, they wake up in each other's bodies. And we hear Tessa's inner monologue wondering why she's waking up in Anna's room. And then she sees Anna's fingernail polish and her hair. And she looks in the mirror and screams. I think before this, too, I think she's like, "This isn't mine," like touching her hair. And then she touches her butt and squeezes it. And she's like, "That's definitely not mine."
Yeah.
And then Harry says, "Anna, come quick. Mom's dead." And Tess goes, "I'm dead?" This is getting a little confusing right here, but basically they have switched bodies. And anytime we talk about Tess, we mean that she is in Lindsay Lohan's body. And anytime we talk about Anna, we mean she is in Jamie Lee Curtis's body. So Tess runs to the room to wake up Anna and realizes once she sees herself, her own body in the bed, she's like, okay, I know who this is. This is Anna, because she's impossible to wake up, and that's why Harry thinks she's dead.
Mm-hmm.
And then when Anna wakes up in Tess's body, Tess explains that they must have swapped. And Anna looks in the mirror and says the most iconic line ever coming out of Jamie Lee Curtis's mouth. She says, "Look at me. I'm old. I'm like the crypt keeper." And they both scream. And then Tess freaks out about her wedding being tomorrow, and they realize that something must have happened during the earthquake that only the two of them felt. And when Ryan comes to the door, Tess, in Anna's body, says, "Honey." And Ryan goes, "Okay, I'll take it," because he's been trying to win her over.
Yeah, I thought that was so funny. I just love Ryan. Honestly, his reactions all the way throughout are incredible.
He's too accepting almost.
Yeah. So then Tess convinces Anna to go to work as her so that she doesn't leave Evan, her needy client, hanging. And she also says that she'll go to Anna's school and take her test for her because she has some qualifying exam that day. But then when they're getting ready, Tess screams because she finds Anna's belly button piercing. And both women dress like incorrectly as each other. So Tess dresses Anna's body up very proper and businessy, like in a button up to go to high school with her hair in a bun. And Anna dresses very punk with like her thong showing in Jamie Lee Curtis's body. And so they see each other and they're just like, no, this is not going to work. So Tess agrees to grunge up her look and Anna agrees to dress more professionally.
So when they get to school, Tess sees Jake pull up on his motorcycle and she freaks out and tells Anna that she can't date him. And then Jake tries to ask Tess out and she turns him down and says, "But I'm sure you'd look quite presentable with a haircut." And then she hugs Stacy because she thinks she's still a really sweet girl. And Stacy pulls her shirt up over her head so that Tess falls backward and trips over a bike rack. And needless to say, school is not going well.
This feels also very validating to us as the audience because we knew that school does not go great for Anna. And so now for Tess to be in Anna's body and experience it when she's been so, like you said earlier, just like against Anna's case. It's just kind of nice.
Yeah, definitely.
So then Ryan drops Anna off at Tess's job and he tries to kiss her before she gets out of the car and she freaks out and is like, no, I have a cold sore. And she does this continuously throughout the day, by the way. But then Anna has this like moment of clarity where she realizes the power that she has now that she's an adult. And she goes on this massive shopping spree. You guys will remember. She gets a cartilage piercing. She gets a haircut. She's in all new clothes. And she also cancels Tess's root canal appointment and also ends up canceling the wedding caterer because the caterer calls to say that the halibut is $10,000. And Anna just goes, ew, halibut is gross. I'm not paying for it, and ends up canceling them, which I'm like, this is nightmare. This is the day before the wedding. She's canceling the caterer. Like, ugh.
That's so funny. Good thing they have an inn at the Chinese restaurant.
True.
And then in English class, Mr. Bates gives Tess an F on her pop quiz. And Tess finally starts realizing that Anna's teacher actually doesn't treat her fairly, exactly like Anna's been trying to tell her. And then she puts two and two together and she realizes that this is the man that asked her to the prom, but she turned him down. And so she realizes that he's taking it out on her daughter, and she tells him off for taking it out on her too. And it's just really cute seeing her standing up for Anna in Anna's body.
Yeah, it's funny. And I think her friends watch this happen and they're just like, huh, Anna's weird today.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the real Anna is struggling with her mom's patience at work.
So then at school, Tess has a fight with Anna's friends about the big audition. And her friend says, quote, your mom hasn't paid any attention to you since she met Ryan. Which must just break Tess's heart, because obviously I think the thing she's the most sensitive about in getting married to Ryan is that Anna and Harry's dad died, I think several years ago, and I think she's nervous about bringing a new guy into their life. And so to have Anna's best friends say that Tess has been ignoring Anna since she met Ryan is just sad.
Yeah.
And then on their lunch break, Anna picks Tess up from school and Tess freaks out about what Anna did to her body. The earring, the clothes, the haircut. And so the girls go back to the Chinese restaurant to try to get Pepe and her mom to switch them back. And when they get there, Pepe immediately knows what her mom did. And she calls her mom out to like talk to them at the restaurant. And her mom admits to Pepe that she did give them the fortune cookies to switch them. But then Pepe tells Anna and Tess, only you can fix it. When the fortune comes true, you'll go back. But there's nothing they can do.
And I think at this point, they don't even remember what the fortune said, which is unfortunate.
Mm-hmm.
So Anna has to go to Harry's parent-teacher conference, which is hilarious because she is so mean to Harry all the time. And his teacher says Harry is having trouble with bullies. And Anna says he's a wimp and needs to toughen up. And then his teacher says Harry wrote a wonderful paper about how Anna is the one he looks up to the most. And it makes her tear up while reading it. And after the conference, she's sweeter to him.
Yeah, I think Harry even says, like, you're not going to tell her that I wrote that, right? And Anna in Tess's body is like, oh, why wouldn't you want me to tell her? I think he's like, because we have too much fun fighting. It's so cute. So then back at school before the qualifying test, Tess pulls Stacy aside and asks why they had a falling out. And Stacy smiles and is like, why don't you sit next to me during the test? Acting like she's smoothing everything over. And then separately, Ryan surprises Anna with a last-minute special on the Dottie Robertson TV show to talk about Tess's new book. And she freaks out. They literally have to shovel her onto stage. Like multiple people, I think, have to push her on because she's just like, no, I do not want to do this today. And it's just worst case. Worst case, I cannot imagine.
And it's like Tess's dream. So to have Anna be the one to do it on the one day that they are not themselves, it sucks.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Tess is struggling through Anna's test. And then Stacy writes her a note saying, I'm so glad we're friends again. And while Tess is looking at the note, Stacy raises her hand and accuses her of cheating, which lands her back in detention, which I'm pretty sure at the beginning of the movie she said something like, well, I know I won't be going to detention. And now it's just funny that, yeah, she did get detention anyway.
Mm-hmm.
After detention, Jake offers to help Tess finish her test, and it turns out that he works at the school and knows where they keep the tests. And I think we find out here that Anna actually met him in detention because he was working there. And so Tess kind of realizes that she was wrong to assume that he was just a bad kid in detention with Anna.
Mm-hmm. And so Jake brings Tess into the teacher's lounge, which is where they keep all the tests. And Tess actually finishes her test in there and then erases Stacy's test. And we can tell that Jake doesn't feel comfortable with this. He does not like that Tess is also doing something mean to someone else because he thought he was just going to help her finish her own test. At the same time, Anna is bombing her TV appearance, sort of, because she's being hilarious. And the audience is like rolling laughing, actually. But she's not representing the book at all. And she's not acting the way that Tess normally would. And then Jake and Tess, as they're walking out of the teacher's lounge, they see Anna, again in Tess's body, on screen doing the TV appearance. And Jake thinks that her mom is so cool. And he ends up breaking up, like, quote, breaking up, I guess, with Tess in this moment because he thinks it's too mean that she erased Stacy's test and is just like, you're not the girl that I thought you were.
And then Anna goes to a coffee shop after the TV appearance and she sees Jake. And he works there. And they end up sitting together and bonding about music. And it's obvious that there's something between them. And then Jake gives her a ride home on his motorcycle. So you're just seeing Jamie Lee Curtis and Chad Michael Murray flirting with each other. Everyone in the coffee shop is a little concerned.
Mm-hmm.
And then you see her riding on the back of the motorcycle on the way home. And it's just glorious.
Which I read that Chad Michael Murray is actually never actually driving the motorcycle. It's just a stuntman because Chad couldn't because of insurance reasons.
Okay, interesting.
Which I thought was kind of weird, but interesting. Back at home, Anna and Tess argue. Tess is upset about what Anna's done to her body, and Anna wants her mom to let her date Jake. So they're both kind of pissed about the things the other one did that day. And then Anna makes a comment that she really doesn't want to have to get married in her mom's body. And as they're talking about it, Ryan comes home and asks what Anna was doing on the back of another man's motorcycle, which is a fair question.
He's like, we're about to get married and you were just on a motorcycle with some dude?
Yeah. And so Anna makes up a story that she needed a ride or something like that. But then Tess, in Lindsay Lohan's body, actually comes out and says, no, I actually want to date Jake, and my mom was skeptical, and so she met him for me, basically, as a good cover.
And right before they all leave for the wedding rehearsal, Jake shows up and sings Hit Me Baby One More Time outside the house for Anna. And then Tess, in Lindsay Lohan's body, decks him. And she tells him not to go near her mom. And I just love, this is what I remember about this movie, is Chad Michael Murray falling in love with Jamie Lee Curtis. And just how funny that was. And so I love it. And then Tess kisses him to try to prove that Anna is the one that he should like, not her mom.
I read that Chad was actually Lindsay Lohan's first on-screen kiss.
Oh, that makes sense why she was so sensitive about him then.
I know. And then, kind of love this, Chad Michael Murray said that Jamie Lee Curtis kissed him backstage to rid both him and Lindsay of their pre-smooch nerves, is what he said. And he said, quote, at this point I went, dude, I just made out with Jamie Lee Curtis. This is great.
I don't know how I feel about that, actually.
Yeah, it's weird. It's not great. But also, how old was Chad Michael Murray? Because I feel like he was an adult.
I think he was 22.
Okay.
It sounds like it was good-natured and they just thought it was silly.
Mm-hmm. But it is weird, because if the genders were reversed, I would hate it.
If a dude just like planted a kiss on you to prep you for your scene, you'd be like, excuse me.
No, yeah, I would hate it. Yeah, to be like, we need to make sure you're not nervous. Let me help you. Ugh, hate.
Gross.
No. So then Anna's friends show up to the rehearsal dinner and they corner Tess to convince her to go to the audition with them. And then Jake shows up and Anna hides behind the bar with him and tells him that he has to leave so that nobody sees him. What a mess. If this was my rehearsal dinner and all of my daughter's teenage friends were showing up to try to crash things, they would kill me.
And then she was also in your body and her boyfriend was in love with you.
Yeah.
And was going to like break up your marriage because he was ready to break up the marriage that day.
Honestly, that's the best part. Chad Michael Murray coming to this rehearsal dinner to get with Jamie Lee Curtis to break it up is just like unhinged.
I love it though. Security guards bring Anna's friends up to Ryan and Anna, and Ryan tells Tess to go do the audition. And he actually gets mad at Anna for saying he thought the rock band was stupid because he really likes Anna and wants to be supportive of her and her interests. And then he tells Anna to go cheer their daughter on, and it's really cute.
It is really cute. And then at the House of Blues, the band is doing the audition, and Tess in Anna's body is struggling. She has no idea how to play guitar, which I did not think about until it was happening.
Yeah.
So then Anna shows up, again, Anna's in Jamie Lee Curtis's body, and watches as Tess tries to play guitar, but it is a complete disaster, so she has to do something. So she goes onto the side of the stage and tells Tess that she unplugged her guitar and that she needs to just fake it because Anna is going to play the solo from the side of the stage. And she does, and it's awesome. And then after the performance, Tess hugs Anna and says she had no idea what it takes to be a musician. And then the girls run off so they can get back to their rehearsal dinner. I read that both Lindsay and Jamie learned how to play guitar in preparation for this role. I think Lindsay practiced for like a year.
Oh, wow.
But then they still ended up getting dubbed over by a professional musician in the editing.
That kind of makes sense because I feel like they would have to know how to play guitar to look a little bit convincing, even if they weren't actually playing.
Totally.
But I do love Jamie Lee Curtis just shredding on the guitar from the side.
I know, it's incredible.
Back at the rehearsal dinner, Tess realizes the position that she's putting Anna in by making her marry Ryan and tells her that she needs to postpone the wedding. And she asks her to be as kind as possible to Ryan when she's letting him down. And she's crying this whole time, and it's just really sad. And Anna says, I know exactly what to say. And surprisingly, instead of just talking to Ryan one-on-one, Anna starts giving a speech. And she says that a really bad thing happened in their family a few years ago when Anna's dad died, and they never thought they'd get over it. But then, when Ryan came into the picture, Tess was happy again. She says that Anna feels like no one could ever take the place of her dad because he was a really great dad, but that someone could be part of a new family, and for someone as special as Ryan, we'd all make a little room. Which is so cute, and it's cute that she's like talking in third person about herself just so her mom knows how she feels.
I know.
It's
sweet. So cute. This whole speech is perfect. And then there's an earthquake, and the girls switch back because I think, were able to finally understand each other's feelings fully. And then Anna, now in her own body, in Lindsay Lohan's body, continues her toast to the bride and groom, which is a little bit confusing for everybody standing there because it did look like Tess, Jamie Lee Curtis, was giving a speech, and then it flips over to Lindsay Lohan to like finish it out. But the whole time it actually was Anna. And then Ryan and Tess kiss, and then we fast forward to the next day to their wedding. And we see Tess and Anna hug, and Tess thanks Anna for everything that she did for her. And then Jake walks up, which, how does this dude get in everywhere?
I don't know.
He walks into the rehearsal, he walks into the wedding, which I guess, to be fair, I guess you could just walk into a wedding.
But how does he even find where they are?
That's a good question. He ends up dancing with Anna, and he says, I've been thinking about that kiss. And she says, kiss? Because she didn't know that her mom kissed him. And then she says, remind me again how I did it. And they kiss again, which I thought was very smooth.
Yeah. I also like that what kind of snapped him out of being in love with her mom, at least from his perspective, when he always liked Anna for who she was as a person. But I like that what snapped him out of it was seeing Anna, but actually Tess, as Anna on stage playing the guitar and doing a good job from what he could tell. And that like snapped him out of it, where he was like, oh wait, like I had a weird moment where I liked her mom, but now I don't.
Yeah.
And the Chinese restaurant ended up catering the wedding since Anna canceled the halibut earlier. And during the reception, Pei Pei's mom walks up to Grandpa and Harry while they're fighting and gives them fortune cookies. But Pei Pei runs and knocks the cookies out of their hands before they can eat them. I always remember the scene. She's like, no! And she like does a dive and she knocks the cookies out of their hands. It's so good.
And then the credits start, and we see Anna and her band perform the song Ultimate at the wedding reception. And that's the end.
I also just love that Ryan and Tess had her and her band play at their wedding because now they appreciate it. I think Ryan always would have said yes, but now Tess appreciates it and wants them at the wedding playing.
Yeah.
It's cute.
It is really cute. I read that there's an alternate ending to this movie where Harry and Grandpa actually open the fortune cookies and then the movie ends right away. So we don't know whether they ate them or not, which I kind of like. I think that probably would have opened the door. I was going to say it would have opened the door to a sequel, but they never would have done a sequel with the Grandpa and Harry. So I think it just would have been a funny ending.
Yeah, that is funny. I don't know. I would have liked that though, but it would have been a little less satisfying if they never did a sequel after that.
Yeah.
Speaking of, in March 2024, Lindsay Lohan confirmed that a sequel is in the works, and both she and Jamie Lee Curtis will be back.
Yay. I'm so happy about this.
Me too.
I'm curious what it will be. Like, will they be the same characters, just older? Will Anna have a daughter and then it happens? And then Jamie Lee Curtis is like the grandma figure? Or do they switch again later in life? Like maybe they grew apart and then they switch again to kind of bring each other back together. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know how they would pull that off, because if they switch again, they already know how to switch back and they already understand each other's sides a lot more. So it's almost like negating what happened in the first movie if they have to go through it again.
That's fair.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's Lindsay Lohan's kids or something. I don't know. I'm excited though.
But I can't wait to find out, yeah.
This movie is so quotable, but there's one part that we didn't talk about that I do want to mention because it's one of my favorite parts. When they first find out that they are in each other's bodies and they're trying to switch back, they're like, I know, we'll just do like a jolt. And they like run at each other and they slam into each other and then fall to the ground, and Harry sees and he's like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah. That is a great part.
I love it. It's a good movie. It was a good rewatch.
Well, thank you guys for listening. If you have any suggestions for movies you want us to cover this summer, I know it's starting to warm up, which I feel like always makes me think of all my favorite summer movies. And if you guys have any ideas, please send them to us on Instagram at While We're Watching Pod.
Yeah, this one, Freaky Friday, was highly requested by you guys, so thank you.
If you like this episode, please consider leaving us a 5-star rating and a good review. It means a lot to us.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye.